Staying with updates from the Indian subcontinent, India specifically experienced one of its driest monsoons this year. The rainfall was the lowest since 2018. The nation's Met Department said that the El Nino weather phenomenon made August the driest month in more than a century. Now, the monsoon, responsible for nearly 70% of India's essential rainfall, provides water for crops. It replenishes reservoirs and aquifers. Now, however, with almost half of the nation's farmland lacking proper irrigation, the stakes are extremely high. Around 50% of India's crop cultivation area is rain-fed. That makes it particularly vulnerable to climate impacts. Now, the monsoon that falls in the summer is important for the agricultural season. During this time, the central and western regions receive around 90% of their annual rainfall, while the southern and northwestern regions receive 50 to 75% of annual rainfall. Now, in India, the monsoon usually lasts from June to September, with the peak falling somewhere between July and August. Now, what is more important to note here is that India is the world's largest producer of milk, pulses, ginger, okra, banana, mango and papaya, and the second largest producer of onion, rice, wheat, sugarcane, peanuts and cotton. Most of these are your kitchen essentials. Now, this rainfall deficit is expected to make commodities such as sugar, pulses, rice and vegetables more expensive and raise food inflation. Lower production could also prompt India, the world's second biggest producer of rice, wheat and sugar, to impose more curbs on exports of these commodities. Now, among all these, rice makes for the biggest part of India's grain exports and is most sensitive to fluctuations in rainfall. It accounted for about 80% of the revenue in the financial year 2022-23. Many researchers believe India's increasing dependency on rice is raising its vulnerability to climate change-induced food security. Now, the monsoon had a weak start this year. In June, the rains were 9% below average. In July, they rebounded to about 13% above average and were patchy in August. This is when the Weather Office recorded a significant drop in rains, 36% below average. Monsoon in India has been erratic due to the El Nino weather phenomenon. Take a look at the map here. Rajasthan, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra are among the most affected states which faced crop losses from drought and excess rainfall. Other states where floods and heavy rains are predominant factors for crop loss were Bihar, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Assam, Gujarat and Odisha. Now, according to the Met Department, India is expected to receive normal rainfall from October to December, adding that temperatures are likely to remain above normal in most of the country during October. All right, to discuss this further, we're now being joined by Chandra Bhushan, the CEO of iForest, live from New Delhi. Welcome to the broadcaster.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bhushan, rains have been extremely erratic this year. We've just read an entire, story link on this. August being the driest month. Being in New Delhi, we know that we've been seeing strange rains through September as well. Delhi saw rains in this month where mostly September is usually drier. Himachal saw 2 spells of unprecedented rains and consequential floods, which has definitely devastated many parts of the state. Some areas have been rather dry, which we just showed on the map. Is it just this year, or will this be an ongoing phenomenon?
Frankly, it is not this year. It has been happening for the last 10 years, at least when we can see a very clear change in pattern of monsoon. Last 10 to 15 years, we have seen that monsoon is becoming more and more erratic. As we talk, Sikkim has yesterday gone through devastating cloudburst. Unfortunately, 20 odd soldiers are missing. I pray for their life. Hopefully they are safe. So, the climate change aspect is something that we need to now understand very clearly, that climate change is now impacting us. We are now experiencing the impact of climate change through extreme rainfall, through drought, through erratic monsoon. So this year is not unusual. Next year will be no unusual as well. We have entered an era of climate extreme. And, till we try and reverse the impact of climate change, which might take decades, we are in for extreme rainfall and droughts. This is the reality, the new reality that we all must accept now.
We have entered the era of climate extremes. Now, that is exactly how I think most of India and most of the world is actually experiencing in these latest months. And as you mentioned, that this is not something which has happened suddenly this year, it has been happening. So if we were to just look ahead, is it just going to get more and more erratic in years to come, or is there anything that can be done as of now to prevent or kind of stabilize the weather patterns?
See, the global temperature has already increased by about 1.2, 1.3 degrees Celsius. The world is struggling to reduce emissions. Our greenhouse gas emissions are at historical high right now. I am not expecting global temperature to stabilize below 1.5 degrees C. We will be very lucky, frankly, if we are able to control temperature increase to 1.5 C. In worst scenario, temperature increase could be 2 degrees, 3 degrees. I cannot even imagine the kind of world we will live in at 2 degrees, 3 degrees temperature increase. Assuming that we are able to control at 1.5, we will still have extreme rainfall events, and in fact, much more extreme than what we are experiencing right now. And therefore, we have to adapt. We will have to build resilient cities. We will have to warn people about extreme rainfall. Our warning system will have to improve. Our disaster management system will have to improve. As I said, we have already entered, extreme rainfall and extreme weather events. We now have to manage it. I do not see in next couple of decades we reversing this trend. That's not going to happen. So let's prepare ourselves, adapt ourselves to deal with these extremes now. Our cities will have to be designed to deal with these extremes.
So infrastructural changes is what are needed, because we just need to prepare ourselves for this reality that we've already entered. It's the era of climate extremes. We need to now adjust and adapt. Thank you so much for joining in on the broadcaster. That was Mr. Chandra Bhushan, CEO of iForest, joining us live from New Delhi.
Thank you.